Hello, hello, ladies. All right, today we are talking about everyone's favorite topic. How can you diet without a coach? A lot of people, no judge. We're all right. We can do it. We can hang in there. So a lot of people are independent as hell nowadays, especially us ladies. I would fall into the category of basically, if you want something done, give it to the busiest woman you know. That is the category I fall into. It's just like, what I'll just keep my blinders on, like, whatever, I got this, whatever, I got this. And I approached wanting to lose weight by myself because for some reason I was holding on to this, like, if I do it by myself, it's so much more impressive thing. For years, I've been actively trying to lose weight for, like, since I was a little kid, and I knew I was, like, the fat friend. So in, like, 20 years, it still hadn't happened. I started realizing, I'm like, maybe it's not impressive when you do it by yourself. If you never get the goddamn after picture, it's just, you're stuck. So I hired help. So I do it obviously for a living now, but I know not everybody wants to do it with a coach. People want to be able to do it all by themselves, which is great. First thing, when you want to do it all by yourself, and I respect that, you should have worked with a coach at some point. That is going to teach you more than you realize. So I'm a numbers person. I've worked with a lot of different coaches over the years. Some were great, some, not my favorite. But I learned something from all of them, either what I liked to do or what I didn't like. On the client standpoint, I kept my own data spreadsheets and I still have them, of every single diet I have ever done. So I learned how to be a really good coach by all the diets that I did. It wasn't the personal training certification. Yeah, being a physical therapist helps a ton, but it was because I did it. I was the client in a lot of different ways. So I know my starting weight, my ending weight, my starting measurements, my ending measurements, my starting macros, my ending macros, how much when we did every adjustment, what the response was, how long I had plateaued, what percent we adjusted. I knew everything about every cut I'd ever done from every coach. So the only reason I was able to ever diet successfully is because I learned how to do it from a professional. So if you have never had success in your life ever in weight loss, you probably shouldn't do it by yourself. But if you've worked with a coach before, you're like, okay, I understand the concept. I get it. Like, we had macros, like we were tracking, we got protein, we got the water, we got the things, we got the lifting. Like, I got the things, like, I get it. And then you go off independently and you want to go diet again. You're like, you get gun shy. It's like, shit. Okay, I can do this. I'm going to do exactly what I did last time. Then you use, like, the exact numbers your coach gave you last time and it doesn't work. It's really annoying. That's happened to me before. So if you want to diet alone, do it intelligently. You got to be smart about it. You have to have worked with someone before who, one, knows what they're doing, but two, more importantly, wanted to teach you. So when you asked questions, they answered and explained it why. That's a big deal. So you understand the concepts and the process. So I already talked about this a while ago in my stories, and this isn't going to be like, here's your magic macros, things like that, but just some tips to get you started and some mindset things that can make or break you. So one of the biggest mistakes I see from people trying to go into a diet independently is being too conservative out of the gates. From the queen of conservative, I always talk about you need to eat as much as possible and do as little cardio as possible for as long as possible and still see results. That's how long-term weight loss works. It's amazing. So knowing that, some people, I'll get DMs all the time. That's kind of part of what prompted this, and it was also a conversation from a recent client. But they're just like, so I shaved off like 100 calories and like nothing. I'm like, that's all? That's all you shaved off? A little bit more. So think of, like, you've been hanging around your perceived maintenance for a while. Your calories have been like here. Maintenance is a range. You can probably eat here-ish and not see a change. So that first drop, you need to get out of that maintenance. For everyone, it's a little bit different. If you have a significant dieting history, you're going to have to drop further. If you don't have that much of a dieting history, or if you've been at maintenance for a very long time, the longer the better. I would never recommend someone dieting after a diet unless you've been in maintenance mode, not reversing, but full on maintenance mode for a minimum of 6 months. 9 is better. A year is even better. The longer you've been at maintenance, the better your subsequent diets are going to work. But your maintenance is a range. So if you lob off 100 calories thinking you're being great, that's a great idea. You're trying to be conservative. You're trying to make sure that you have room for adjustments later. Sometimes you shoot yourself in the foot because you literally just hit like the bottom of your maintenance and then nothing changes and then you're pissed. So then you think nothing works for you and then you just get stuck. No, we have to make a bigger drop initially. Eventually, your maintenance will meet you where you are. Then the drops get a little bit smaller and then it'll catch you eventually. Then the drop's a little bit smaller. Then it'll catch you eventually when you're adjusting calories. But I see a big mistake from even some coaches who are like, hey, can you look at these numbers for me? I'm like, sure, like what's going on? And they're like, this client's not getting results. They came in with this and I have them eating this. I'm just like, you're not being aggressive enough. You have to be smart. I mean, the client is having like bad biofeedback. I mean, we look at sleep quality, we talk about pooping, you know, exercise recoverability, all like the normal people healthy things. If those check, it's not wrong to hit the gas a little. You got it. You want results, work for them. But you got to be smart about it. Leaving room for adjustments, but you can't be too gun shy that first adjustment you make. That's a big deal. Same thing with cardio. If you're like, I'm not doing any cardio. So if I was ready to go into a diet right now, and I'm not, my hormones, my lab work came in last night and my GI map results should be in by the end of the week. I already know I don't get to diet yet. Fuck. But it's all right. We're going to do the right thing. But if I was able to diet right now, I would drop my calories a good bit. And I would add in maybe 2 20-minute sessions of cardio. Maybe. Because I'm not doing any. Little bit more. That would be another 40 minutes of cardio a week on top of the 0 that I'm doing. If someone comes in doing already 40 minutes of cardio a week, maybe just increase each of them by 10 minutes. That's going to add on 20 minutes of cardio or like throw in another session. Don't go like no cardio to like 5 days. Taper your way up a little bit. Always think long term, but to get started, you got to kind of get a little zest behind your diet. That's going to be one of the biggest mistakes people make out of the gates is going out too hard and you like plummet your calories down to nothing and you are starving and you're doing cardio every day. They either like seem to like hit the gas so hard that you're going to break after like a week. No one can hang that hard, especially if it's like 1,200 calories or less. Like that's like everyone's magic diet number. If that really worked, would any woman have trouble losing weight? Probably not, because we've all tried that. So you don't want to starve yourself, but don't be afraid of shaving off more than 100 calories to start. Then every subsequent adjustment, they can be smaller little chunks of dropping calories, usually from carbohydrates, maybe from some fat. You want to keep protein pretty consistent. That's what you want to think about when you start doing it by yourself. But again, work with a coach first, learn about yourself first, so that when you go do it by yourself, you can be like, okay, I did this with a coach before. How big was that first drop? Okay, they dropped however much percent off of they dropped like 20% off or whatever. I'm literally just pulling a number out of the air. And then the next time, maybe they only dropped it like, okay, and that was a nice start to the diet. We hung out there for a while and then I plateaued. They only adjusted like 8 or 10% down. Like, see what has happened before and what worked and start there as a pretty decent framework. That's a really good place to start. So I had a client who's ready to transition to independence and she's like, I think I can do this. Like, I think I can do this. I know I have to be consistent and I think I can do this. And I was like, girl, you can definitely do this, but you need a lot more than consistency. Like, let's talk. I was like, all right, you're going to do this by yourself. Consistency is important. That's important with any diet. Any diet, you need consistency, whether you're with a coach or not. But when you're doing it all by yourself, there's 2 things that matter more than consistency. Number 1, patience. Patience, my friend. It's annoying. You will not start a diet and lose weight overnight sometimes. Look for trends over time. You have to be patient. You always want to think about being proactive with your dieting strategy. Like, okay, I'm going to adjust my calories or macros or my water intake or prioritize sleep or whatever the hell it is that you're doing. do it intentionally, and then gather some data, get some information, and then make a judgment call. Be proactive about your decision-making processes and be patient, because the last thing a woman trying to lose weight needs to be is reactive, because you're all a little emotionally charged anyway. So you don't want to be reactive because, oh my God, the scale went up 0.2 pounds. I clearly didn't drop calories low enough. I'm going to shave off another 400. And like before the week's over, you're left with like a salad with one crouton for the whole day. Like, don't be reactive. Be intentional, calculated, and slow to make adjustments. Patience is going to be a girl's best friend when you're trying to diet. And then number 2, this might actually be the most important one. I should have made this number 1, thinking back now, is objectivity. I talk about this a lot with clients, and honestly, it's why a lot of coaches still have coaches. Just because we know how to do it, one, doesn't mean we want to like do it to ourselves. Like, hey, you just run my crazy ass. That'd be great. Thanks. You just want to execute. But objectivity is very challenging to get all on yourself, especially us ladies. We're a little emotionally invested in our results. Just think about it. If someone asked you a random question about heart palpitations, you'd be like, oh, are you okay? Like, you might want to get that checked out and give them some advice. If your elderly father called you and asked you about heart palpitations, you'd be like, oh my God, like just instantly, because you are so emotionally tied to family. So when we are that emotionally invested in our outcomes, we do lose objectivity. There's like a fogged mirror glass, like in between. You can kind of see it, but you're like, it's a little blurry. We're just going to go for it anyway. So when you're really emotionally invested into something, it makes you a little more reactive and harder to make sound judgment calls. So the last thing you want to do is lean on your emotion when you're actually trying to lose weight. That's why so many people who even know how to do it all by themselves still hire coaches, because it's about being objective, because we're emotionally tied to what we do. So we're going to freak out a little bit when the scale doesn't move, even though we know better. Like, we're emotionally tied to it. We hire someone else to say, you be the fresh set of eyes. That's why, like, I'm a really good coach. Like, I love my clients. I know their kids' names. I know where they're going on vacation. Like, it's great. But I see your numbers objectively because I'm not emotionally tied to it. You hired me to do a job, and I'm going to be crystal clear when I look at it, because I'm not going to let my emotions dictate your journey. That will get you nowhere. So if you're doing it by yourself, know you're going to come in like kind of like an emotional bag of energy. It's going to be happening. So track as much data as you can that's objective, so your emotions don't cloud all your judgment. You have to have sound things to look at. So some things that clients do for me when we're working together is weigh every day. I know, it totally sucks, but not really, because it helps you take away the gravity of stepping on the scale every moment and just, oh God, because the day-to-day weight does not really matter. I don't give a flying shit if it goes up for like 2 days in a row. So look at trends over time. Look at your weekly averages from weight. Look at your body composition measurements, even just doing those like once a week. Take some progress photos. Maybe you have a pair of jeans. We know denim doesn't lie. That's your barometer. Track data if you're trying to do it by yourself, because us ladies are so emotionally invested in our outcomes that even those of us who do this for a living, we can talk ourselves in and out of something because our emotions are driving the car instead of objectivity. So a couple takeaways, because I don't want to talk your guys' ear off today, is the first step into a calorie deficit from maintenance mode has to be your biggest one. All other adjustments from that are considerably smaller. Don't be afraid to push the gas, but you have to leave room for subsequent adjustments. That's when it benefits from having worked with someone who explains to you what's happening throughout the process, so you're more equipped to kind of know where to start, all those good things. Then when it comes to character traits, patience is a virtue. It doesn't happen overnight as much as we would like it to. It just doesn't. So stay patient. And then use objectivity. Gather as much data, as many numbers as you possibly can to keep your head on straight, because emotion clouds judgment. You know, you probably dated some piece of shit back in college that all of your friends hated, but he was like the bee's knees. You guys just don't understand. I love him. Whatever. And then you break up and you realize how big of a douchebag he was. He's the same guy. Emotion clouded your judgment. So just be smart about things. Oh, got all of my screens just turned off. Can you guys still see me? I think so. There we go. So just get as much data as you can, like tracking weekly measurements or then daily weights to look at weekly trends. That's the biggest takeaway. If you guys have any questions, now would be a good time to start dropping them in, because that was pretty much what I wanted to cover. If you're going to do it right, be intentional, track your data, stay objective, be proactive about making decisions. Don't react to one thing you see on the scale, and be patient. That's going to help you more than most other things. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you caught this halfway through, then you go ahead and watch the replay. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll catch you later. Bye.